Hello everyone. All right. Today I want to talk about stress management. Okay. I want to talk about stress management skills as part of skills that you need to have when you are nursing someone with a mental health deficit. Okay. So to discuss this topic, I've divided my lesson into three. Okay, so we have the psychology of being a patient. Okay, so this is a topic mostly you learn in psychology. Okay, psychology of being a patient. What are some of the psychological things that someone may pass through when they are patients? So we established that when someone is having, or has been admitted, okay, has come to the hospital, they have some issue of anger. The anger comes because their line of business has been affected by the admission. So there's time that has been lost. Sometimes anger is towards the diagnosis, okay, but mostly it's because of lost business and other issues that may come. Alright, then we also have denial. Some diagnoses are not easy to assimilate just like that. Actually, all diagnoses or all diseases, just being diagnosed with a certain disease, diagnosed with cancer, diagnosed with TB or diabetes is not an easy thing. So there is some kind of shock or denial that the patient goes through. Okay, so the psychology of being a patient, we are saying patient may have some anger issue, okay, because of lost business, may also pass through some kind of shock or denial, okay, because maybe they might have been doing a lot of exercises and other keep fit activities, and then at the end they end up having obesity when they have been exercising a lot like I do. Okay, then projection. So projection, sometimes when a patient is admitted, they might attribute their illness to be caused by a certain thing, or a certain relationship that they had in the past in their life. So projection is mostly directed towards certain things or individuals. Okay, so they project that they would not have had that illness if it had not been because of ABC. Alright, so there is a projection. Alright, so there is also regression. When someone is having a disease or an illness, they cannot do their activities of daily living properly, so they may need to be assisted. So regression is simply returning to your old habits that you might have passed through during your development. So there can be regression, start bathing new, you're an adult and the likes, such things. So pass through some regression. Of course, some diagnoses may spell something like imminent death, being diagnosed with certain diseases like cancer. A lot of people just think, no, now I'll just die with this disease. So there is also fear. So fear of dying from the diagnosis, or fear of the business that they might have lost out there. Okay, and there are a lot of fears. Okay, also fear of maybe lost time and not having a good relationship with the supernatural being. So there are all those fears. So when someone is sick, they pass through issues of anger, they have passed through issues of denial, they pass through issues of projection, they pass through issues of regression, and pass through issues of fear. So you can read more about these under defense mechanism. And I'm trying by all means to connect the psychology of being a patient to stress management, because it's how psychologically you are affected that may bring about a stress. Okay, so this takes me now to another part. This other part I'm looking at systems affected by stress. All right. Do we have any system that can be affected because you are stressed? Of course, yes. So the central nervous system is affected because you become anxious. All right. The central nervous system is affected because your perception about things will change because of the diagnosis. Okay. Or because maybe the disease is affecting the CNS or the central nervous system. So the CNS can be affected, and then the gastrointestinal tract or the GIT can also be affected. Some people, when they're stressed, they tend to have diarrhea, others they tend to be constipated. So that is, in a way, looking at it, that this system is affected by stress. Alright, the cardiovascular system is affected because for some, when they are stressed, the blood pressure even becomes high. You may have heart palpitation, you may have some tachycardia or racing heart, okay, because of stress. So the cardiovascular system is affected. Then the urinary system is also affected. Okay, when you are stressed, sometimes you frequent going to the toilet because of increased pressure or to urinate. Okay, it can be increased urine production, so you tend to urinate a lot. Why? Because of stress. Okay, muscle skeletal system, you may tend to have some muscle pain, okay, or muscle twitching. Why? Because of stress. All right, so if you really want to improve on how to write a very good nursing care, or you want to improve on how to nurse a patient with mental health, you need to have some mental health skills. Okay, one of them, of course, is the one that we are discussing, which is stress management. So all these, I'm going to discuss them in kind of series, and I'm going to post them within this channel. Okay, so we have stress management skills that you need to have. We have the counseling skills that you need to have. We have, under the same C, the communication skills that you need to have. You also need to have good observation skills. Okay, it's not just about looking, you also need to see. I don't know whether that is still clear. When you're looking, there's no perceptual there's no perception that you give to something that your eyes are trying to see. But when you see, there's that perceptual interpretation, okay, of what is just before you. So don't just look, you need to see. All right, you see, you use your scientific reasoning, okay, and other information that you'd have learned in mental health. So we are saying observation skills. Okay, so under observation skills, you notice that at one point, okay, within this channel, I posted a video to do with table ara. I'm going to talk about it here, table ara. So under observation, we had coast map. Okay, we have coast map, and also I've made other mnemonics that you can still use, okay, on how best to observe the patient, okay, how best you can see the framework from which you can judge whether the patient is recovering or not. All right, so then T is for therapeutic skills. Okay, therapeutic skills, therapeutic nursing skills. Okay, so these are needed in mental health so that you improve on the patient's mental health at the visit. Okay, then A is for assertive skills. Okay, you need to be assertive when you're attending to the patient, and also help the patient, okay, improve their perception about the world. Then there's group skills. Okay, you also need to have group skills in order to nurse a patient with mental illness. Of course, the other S is for social skills. All right, so these core tags or B core tags is for the skills that you need to have in mental health. All right, and I'm going to discuss each and every element of it within this channel. I'll discuss all of them. Please remember the stress management skills, the communication skills, the counseling skills, the observation skills. Under observation, that's why I said we have cost map there as a framework for observation. All right, and then we have therapeutic nursing skills that you need. of course, assertive skills for A, then group skills. Okay, you need to know how to function within a group. Then we have the social skills. So these are the skills that you need in order to nurse a patient with a mental health deficit. Okay. All right. So now the third part of my lesson on stress management skills for patients with a mental health deficit is that you need to have an approach to stress management. Okay, so when you're managing a patient with mental illness, sometimes you can divide it into dimensions. Okay, so each and every mental problem has certain dimensions that needs to be manipulated so that the patient can recover. All right, so for the sake of just this stress that we are looking at it in terms of physical dimension. Okay, if you are in a room, that is clustered with a lot of things, okay, that is a source of stress on its own. Okay, your room needs to be well organized. It helps to reduce stress. Okay, so on the physical dimension here, we are looking at elements that are within your environment, the place where you are working from. Okay, all right, so the environment where you stay, okay, what are the things that are there? They can act as a source of stress. Does the place smell? All those things within that physical environment, like you have a sewer nearby. All right, so physical elements can induce stress. So it's important to manipulate this physical environment so that you can improve or you can manage stress. All right, then the psychological dimension. We continue with our lesson. So we're saying we need to have an approach to stress management, okay, of which there is a physical dimension, there is a psychological dimension, there is an environmental dimension. So all these, if they are not hygienic, when I say they are not hygienic, they have some negativity, then the patient is going to be stressed. But there are a lot of dimensions in which you can nurse someone with mental illness. So someone with stress may have an economic issue, so you look at the economic dimension. May have a social issue, you look at the social dimension when you are nursing them. So you can even use these dimensions in order to nurse the patients. The physical dimension, the physiological dimension, because stress has got a physiological dimension. So what can you do to help manipulate all these things? All right, so in terms of dimensions, you can also nurse a patient with mental illness, looking at how that dimension has been affected. Okay, then now talking about Chebo Ara. So Chebo Ara is a framework that talks about how you're going to nurse the patient with mental illness. So it stands for counseling, hygiene, environment, behavior modification, observation, and rehabilitation. Of course, they're saying these are the main things that you need at least to be equipped with as you are nursing the patient. Of course, the situation will determine what other things that you may need to manipulate the patient's environment so that you improve on their mental health deficit. All right, so now under behavior modification, we usually stress that we need to use the train, or we can use call tags. So behavior modification is a skill that you need to manipulate patients' either environment, social environment, physical environment, psychological environment, so that they can improve with the problem that they are facing. So train stands for talk about it. Talking about it here, we are saying there needs to be communication skills. Okay? Communication skills by the nurse attending to the patients so that they can try to help out. So it's not just about communicating. Okay? Let's say a child has been abused. They communicate to someone who further oppresses them. So when you're talking about your problem, we are also looking at someone who's going to help you in the way they are going to communicate, so that their communication becomes a remedy to your problem. Okay, so the only type of communication where the communication itself becomes more like treatment is counseling. All right, so when you talk about it, we're saying you need to have communication skills, and then you also need to have some counseling skills in order to modify behavior. Then rest. Okay, just taking enough sleep helps to build your immunity so that your immunity becomes more active. Okay, it helps to relax your muscles that can be affected by stress. Okay, so that is with rest. So rest, sleep, okay, and exercises, they are very, very important in improving your stress level. Rest, sleep, and exercises collectively together. Okay, you don't just rest, or else you start gaining too much. All right, then A is activity. Activity is exercises. So do some exercises to relieve you out of certain let's say thinking of the same problem every now and then. To relieve your body out of the tension of the stress, you need to do some activities. So you can draw up some activity plan for the patient on the things that they can do each and every day, so that they do not stress so much on the mental basis that they have, but they can also do some of these activities. It can also act as a diversion therapy. Alright, then interest. Taking interest in the people that are treating you, taking interest also in the new treatment that is available for your illness can also help in improving your stresses. Okay? Sometimes your stress levels can just be improved by certain manipulation of your body. Okay? They are like yoga and the like. So take interest in those hobbies, okay, and see how they can help you. All right, so don't just look at it as a foreign thing. Yoga is quite helpful actually for stress. Then N is nutrition. Having a diet of the same thing each and every time is stressful, so you need to have a balanced diet in order to reduce stress. Alright, so score tags there, I've already explained what score tag is all about. So I was just simply explaining about stress management, okay? Stress management in mental health. It can be even other conditions, but we are looking at stress management specifically in mental health. How can you manage stress? You use the train, okay? This is the main part of our lesson. The other part was just for helping to build up to this that now we are looking at. So you need to use the train, talk about it. In talking about it, use communication skills, use counseling skills. Rest. So rest, exercise, and sleep help improve stress level. Activity, draw up activity plan, bed making, and all those things that you can draw up for the patient. Brushing their teeth, okay, so that they can do certain activities of daily living on their own. It's also stressful to be dressed up by someone else, even if you have a mental illness. All right, interest. Do some yoga, okay? Do certain hobbies that will help you improve your stress. Actually, all of us, we need to have hobbies. Okay, so some of my hobbies is boxing, watching wrestling, okay, jogging. I do a lot of jogging, a lot of it. So you need to have interest in that. Of course, if your stress is gaining weight, then you lose weight. That is the thing. All right. Then nutrition. Cannot have the same food. 1 year you've just been having the same food. That is stressful. You lose appetite, okay? So you need to have a balanced diet, have different meals that can help. Score tag there is for the skills that you need that you need as a mental health specialist. Okay, so score tag, I'm going to discuss all of them, all of these mental health skills within this channel, so that you can watch them and improve your nursing of patients with mental illness. So I thank you for listening. All right, and please keep on checking on our channel so that you can also watch these other videos about these other skills. This lesson was just about the stress management. Okay, stress management as a skill that you need to nurse a patient with mental illness. All right, thank you very much.